I didn't cry when they threw me out. I remember the slamming door, my mother's trembling hands, my father's voice cracking between anger and shame. "You're no daughter of mine." I was 16, pregnant, and suddenly alone. That night, I slept in the back of a half-broken bus, parked behind the old church. The air smelled of rust and rain. I remember pressing my hand over my belly and whispering, "We'll survive." And we did. Before that night, I was the perfect daughter. Straight A's, polite, predictable. My parents paraded me around like proof of their success. They didn't raise me. They curated me until one mistake shattered their illusion. When I told them about the baby, I didn't expect celebration, but I didn't expect exile either. I begged. I cried. My mother just looked away. My father's last words before I walked out were cold enough to scar me for decades. "Erase this mistake, or stay erased from our lives." I chose to stay erased. The years that followed taught me more about strength than any sermon or school ever could. I worked double shifts, studied at night, and raised my son Noah with the kind of love I never received. But even love hardens over time, especially when it's built on survival. For years, I told myself I'd forgiven them, that they were just victims of their own pride. But forgiveness isn't peace. It's camouflage, and I kept mine well hidden. When Noah turned 18, he got into Harvard on full scholarship. That night, as was celebrated, I realized something. Every triumph of his was proof that I didn't need them. But what if they needed me? I checked quietly. Their lives were collapsing. My father's business bankrupt. My mother's social circle gone. They'd lost their reputation, their home, their perfect image. I could have stayed invisible, but fate has a cruel sense of irony. 2 decades after they threw me out, they showed up at my doorstep. It was a Sunday morning. The doorbell rang. When I opened it, I saw them standing there, older, smaller, carrying the same faces, but none of the same power. My mother's eyes searched mine like a beggar's. My father's voice trembled, rehearsed, but hollow. "We heard Noah got into Harvard," he said. "We'd like to meet our grandson." I let the silence stretch until it cut them. "Grandson," I repeated. "You mean the mistake you told me to erase?" My mother flinched. She whispered, "We were wrong, darling. We just want to see him." For a moment, I almost laughed. The same people who discarded me now wanted to borrow pride from my survival. But I didn't rage. I planned. I invited them inside. They looked around my house. Thart, the calm, the quiet evidence of a life built from ashes. I watched my father's jaw tighten. They expected bitterness. Instead, I served tea. While they drank, I showed them the framed photos. Noah in his graduation gown, Noah volunteering at hospitals, Noah smiling. And then I paused on one photo. Me in a white coat, stethoscope around my neck. My father squinted. "You're a doctor, surgeon." I corrected my voice even. "Built a private practice 10 years ago. You might have heard of Hale Medical Group?" He blinked. His eyes flickered with recognition. Of course he'd heard of it. It was the same hospital chain that bought the land he lost to debt. I leaned back. Funny how things come full circle. They shifted uncomfortably. My mother tried to soften it with a smile. "We're just proud of you, sweetheart." Proud. The word tasted like poison. I leaned forward. "Do you know how many nights I begged you not to throw me out? How many times I nearly gave up?" My father looked down. My mother cried. I didn't stop. "You cared more about your neighbor's gossip than your own blood. And now you want to play grandparents." Noah walked in then, tall, confident, his eyes sharp like mine. "Mom," he said. "Who are they?" I looked at my parents, then back at him. "Old ghosts," I said quietly. My father tried to speak, but Noah raised a hand. "If they're the reason you cried in your sleep all those nights," he said, "then they don't deserve to know me." That silence was heavier than any scream. My parents' faces broke slowly, painfully, like glass fracturing under pressure. They tried to apologize, but Noah turned away. I didn't have to say a word. The punishment had already unfolded. They left without another word, and for the first time in 20 years, the house felt lighter. As I stood by the window, watching them disappear down the driveway, I realized revenge doesn't always need blood or fire. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's a son who refuses to carry your sins forward. My father once told me to erase my mistake. I did. I erased them. I didn't ruin them. Life just handed me the brush, and I painted the truth they tried to hide. Justice, I've learned, doesn't shout. It arrives quietly right at your doorstep.